This is Johnny's Prime. I am Ernest Kojo Manu, and our headlines this hour. Inflation goes up once again, with food and transport being the major drivers. But why is smoked herring, amane, topping the chart?
First, amane na 4, kesepa 4 10cedi. Sisi 3 10cedi, ena the 1 5, ena 3 4 10cedi. Sisi anu 4 10cedi.
We'll bring you details of what items in the basket has moved the rate from 29.8% in June to 31.7% in July, and also hear from an economist. Also here on Johnny's Prime, the La Bianca Saga. Chamber of Freights and Trades defend the frozen foods company and cautions the general public not to be quick in bringing down Ghanaian businesses.
If you read it very well, there's nothing in it. It's hollow. It's actuated by malice, and those who are behind it, they know themselves. I'm ready for any prosecution. That's what he must do.
Hello again, thanks for choosing us. Inflation has gone up once again from 29.8% in June to 31.7% in July. Again, it is the highest inflation rate recorded since late 2003. However, the rate of inflation has slowed down in the month under review as it went up by only 1.9%. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, the increase in inflation was once again caused by transport, which is 44.6%, housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels constituting 43.0%, and furnishing. We'll get into the details, break it down for you shortly. But first, listen to the government statistician, Samuel Kobnenim, announcing the figures for this month.
Highlights for July 2022 rate of inflation. July 2022 rate of inflation stood at 31.7%, indicating an increase from 29.8%, which was recorded for the month of June 2022. We decompose this from two perspectives, from a food and non-food inflation perspective, and from a domestic and imported inflation perspective. From a food and non-food perspective, we record food inflation 32.3% and 31.3% for non-food inflation. From a domestic and imported perspective, we record domestic inflation 29.2% and imported inflation 31.3%. From a regional perspective, we identified Eastern region recording the highest rate of inflation of 38.1% and the Upper East region recording the least inflation of 19.8% for the month of July 2022. Highlights from a monthly perspective: for the month of July 2022, month-on-month inflation stood at 3.1%, indicating a 0.1 percentage point increase between June and July 2022, as we did record 3.0 for the month of June 2022 relative to 3.1 for the month of July 2022. Decomposing this from a food and non-food inflation perspective, food inflation month-on-month 3.3%, non-food inflation 3.0%, indicating a 0.3 percentage point difference.
So that is the government statistician. My colleague Isaac Kofi, who is a data analyst with our research desk, joins me in studio to break down the figures for us further, especially with the fascinating details about herring, which is in the food inflation bracket, but leading in terms of the rate so far.
So, Ernest, if you look at this chart, somewhere around last year, this same time, July inflation was 9%. Now, just a year on, we've moved from 9% to 31.7%. Now, you know that the government has a target of 8 plus or minus 2. And so with this rate of 31.7%, it means we've moved more than 4% away from our target of 8 plus or minus 2. But this is the interesting story when we do the disaggregation. So bread, herrings, which we call amane, and if you're a Ghana, mangbi, and other, things like payments for rent. So if you look at bread, for instance, if you compare last year July to this year July, it means the price of bread has gone up at least, and this is the at least situation, 56.1%. That's for bread. And for those who consume amane or mangbi or, herrings, it has gone up by 51.3% from last year July to this year July, And payment for rent is number 3 with 46.4%. We also have, bars, church fairs, being 42.3%, and the least being, fish in general being 32.5%. But the fascinating thing is that some of the key drivers of the inflation, the headline inflation of 31.7%, are bread, herrings, amane, payments for rent, bus, church affairs, and then fish. But Ernest, if you look at the usual suspects that whenever we release inflation figures, we actually see them, we have grapes and then diesel and petrol, which we call fuel. They've also all gone up by more than 100%. But this is actually the 4th time in a row this year. So in the past 5 years, we've never seen this occurring. We are seeing imported inflation be more than the local inflation. So right from April to July, we've seen imported inflation be more than the local inflation that we see. But if you do a regional breakdown, then you see how dire the situation is in some regions. So the deeper the red in terms of the color gradient, the higher the rate. So if you check from the north to the south, you could see that inflation is fairly okay in the north, somewhere close to the headline inflation, or sometimes even below the headline inflation. So Upper East being the least with 15.7% in terms of food inflation. This is not the headline inflation. This is actually food inflation because we are focusing analysis on food. So we have Upper West 33.8%. But if you look at the region, in terms of the middle belt, we have Bronga half of the Ashanti region all recording inflation somewhere around 29%. But in the south, that is where the situation actually is a bit dire. So Western region having 44.2%.
So you see Western region painted all red, Kofi. All red. And that's quite interesting. Yeah. And just not to take the wind out of the sail, but I see the greater courage. I mean, I was just looking out for that. But I see it is yellow in color, meaning that we have more inflation, food inflation in the Western region than in the greater Accra region.
And we said that some of the key drivers is fish. So if you look at the coastal areas, and as you can see, the inflation is high in the coastal areas where we have, this fish and other things going up. But in the African region, okay, so when we talk about inflation, usually we have two outliers. We have South Sudan and Zimbabwe being outliers, all having inflation rates more than, 100%. But if you take them out and you rank the entire, continent, Ghana is the penultimate when it comes to inflation, at least last but one with 31.7%.
And that is because there's Zambia, which is also on the extreme. Yeah. Thank you very much, Kofi, for bringing us those details. So we were at the market, the Malata market specifically, to speak to traders, including fishmongers, about the cost of the items captured in the CPI, especially your favorite amane.
C'est last year crapo na ye complain crapo ne no cry. C'est fait since amani na e boa 4 que c'est pas 4 10cd. C'est 3 10cd and a kit the boa 5 and a 3 4 10cd. C'est anu ye 4 10cd. Osa wono so ya tumu pa nyezi. Abidjan samu si first adeka the old beto adeka be mienu se old beto be ba kope se ya tu mankasa se na yeto first scrap ukita 15 cd ena 12 cd scrap a de hu no benye bi scrap ato se antisa se de hu no de didi 12 cds ni 13 se akodi 15 cd de di 15 akodi 17 18 ebi wo kra oba bi kra po na ni musa ne je se ya tu nti ebi ani didi so ni kese bia se na ti wade no so be hwe na udi ato se na be a usu sheda bokasa obi wo to be 5 as se oba to be 2 and 3 nti se ade asisa
eni man se ne bo akosoro pa nti se ye hu se de ye amane ma no ton ye to a e kanko na ye bo ya bo kasa ye hu se de ye be ye ho kura nti se de mo be ye no mo nye ye
na nti mango di se salo mango bako se abako
7 cities e na popo no so me ensa 10 cities.
Let's go onto the lines now and speak to the Statistical Service. John Foster Ejao is head of the price statistics at the service, and he joins us. Thank you very much, sir. So what may be influencing the increasing rate of food inflation, especially?
Well, so anyway, thanks for having me, and good evening to your viewers and listeners. So as you were saying in your intro, for the food, almost every item saw some increases. Typical in the list, we are talking about cooked rice, we are talking about the raw rice, imported one. I heard you talk about herrings, bread, fish from the rivers. So almost every item, even as you heard the woman talking about, even fruits, pawpaw, pear, almost everything was taxed.
Yeah, but is it clear to you, and I know this is what the record says, but is it clear to you, I mean, you understand the figures, why some of these things are going up? And for herrings, for instance, or fish generally, I mean, is it an issue of the fuel, premixed fuel, for instance? We had that discussion yesterday where the fishermen were complaining about the cost of premixed fuel influencing, their ability to make a lot more catch, which is then affecting. So what is really happening?
So I'll tell a very interesting story. Our people will say that when troubles begin to come your way, they come in multitude, So we're having a lot of factors that are contributing. One is what you directly said. The scarcity of premixed fuel, and so the fuel that they get at higher prices, and therefore they pass it on. Then we found something interesting yesterday. When we saw the figures ourselves, we were a bit worried, so we need to do some further checks. And interestingly, in the Western region, as probably may come to talk about later, apparently somewhere last month, they had a series of rainfall, and therefore a lot of the farm gates, were cut off. So the farmers could not get their produce to the market, and that's how come food prices, for example, in the Western region, saw appreciable increases last month. Then again, we are told that because of the festivals along the coast, they call it the close season for fishing for some of the communities along the sea, and so they were not able to get enough catch, and therefore the supply of this fish to the market was also limited, and therefore resulting in increases in price. So, yes, and then again, transport. Transport has a positive effect. Once we are seeing transport being high, when the people get it at the communities and they have to transfer to the market centers, they also increase it because of the transport fees. So all these two factors come together to play in the food prices that we are seeing.
Mr. Jao, I'm grateful for your time. Let's speak to Dr. Patrick Isumini. He's an economist at the University of Ghana. He joins us via Zoom. Doc, the rate of increase appears to be marginal. It appears to have slowed down. Is that the beginning of some stability to come?
First, good evening to you and good evening to viewers. Yes, so I guess we are all hoping that is the start of the tapering that the Bank of Ghana spoke about at the last MPC meeting. So you are right. You see that in terms of the percentage point increase, we've seen a decline between May and June, and another decline between June and July. Obviously, that is comfort for ordinary Ghanaians who clearly see that prices are still going up. But at least it's just a first positive sign that there appears to be some tapering, and that hopefully soon the inflation will peak and we start seeing a downward trend.
But what should we be doing to consolidate the gains that we are making?
So it appears that the monetary policy rate hikes that we saw in March and may have played a role. When the rate is increased or when the rate is changed, it usually takes several quarters for its full impact to be seen within the economy. But obviously, we cannot, because of that, ask the central bank to keep raising the rates, because that's the implication for other sides of the economy. Okay. But what we should also do is to try and stabilize the cedi. As you pointed out, the imported inflation is still going up. Part of the reason might be that inflation in other countries is going up. But another reason might be also the depreciation of the currency. So I think if we put in measures that will stabilize the economy and also halt the cedi's depreciation going forward, that will help. Then ultimately, though, we need to think about the production side, because food inflation, which is dominated by domestic items, is still higher than the average inflation. So it means that whatever interventions on to help agri production and help with our import substitution drive will help in that direction.
I'm grateful that you could join us. Dr. Patrick Esumin is an economist at the University of Ghana Business School. Now, she was the only survivor of an accident that claimed 14 lives on the Elmina Commander Junction Road. A week after the accident, Judith Barnes, a mother of two and a teacher in a private school in Takoradi, says her two children, a WASI candidate and a 9-year-old child, cannot come to terms with what has befallen them. Medical officials at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital say she might have to spend nearly 5 months at the hospital. Richard Kojo was there at her bedside to understand the impact of the accident on her family.
So we are here at the female surgical ward at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. This is where Judith Barnes, the only survivor in the accident that happened between Elmina and the Commander Junction stretch of the road, claimed 14 lives. She is the only survivor here. She's been telling me a lot, saying that there were 15 in that particular bus. All she saw was a smoke, and then the last time she opened her eyes, here she was surrounded by so many people she couldn't see anything.
We are now going to Takoradi. I saw they were burning some bush. We were passing through the smoke. It was a heavy smoke, so we were passing through it. I was sitting right behind the driver. So passing through the smoke, I couldn't see anything again. All I saw was I was in the hospital, so people surrounded me. When I was conscious, then I heard we were 15, 14 dead. I was the only survivor. It has not been easy. Being in an accident is different from being a normal person. It has not been easy, my brother.
How many kids do you have?
I have two. I have two, and I'm a private teacher. My firstborn was here, and he was crying a lot. He was crying a lot. As for the second one, he's just a child. He's 9 years.
9 years.
He knows, but she knows, but she doesn't understand.
Judith's mother, Mercy Abua, is distraught.
In fact, I was not on myself at that moment. I couldn't stand it. But I thank God who has brought me this way. And I thank Ghanaians. I thank everyone who supported me in prayer. I know God will continue doing it for me. Thank you.
Her teary eyes tell how devastated the impact of the accident has been on her family.
The senior one is a boy, and he is now coming to write his final year exams at SS3. Yes, and it has affected him a lot, because when he called me, all what he would say is, "Grandma, I can't even learn. I'm thinking of mommy, so I can't even learn. When I take the book, I don't know where to start from." And all what I would say to him is that, "Junior, pray."
Here at the hospital, prayers are being offered for Judith. The prayers were followed by the popping of champagne. President of the Accident Victims Support Foundation, Reverend Cyril Benedict Crabb, led a team made up of the National Insurance Commission and the National Road Safety Commission to support Judith.
whenever the accident happens, accident victim support comes to the aid of the accident victims want. We also coordinate with the hospital to make sure that such a person who didn't call to be in such a position, who didn't sign on to such a position, but for the recklessness of some driver or some mishap, that person should be given that treatment that will not make him or her to die. Then again, we also support them with a little bit with financial, with finances, that they will have it on them, because any accident victim that get into the accident, that get into crash, first thing that they go through is the loss of their money. And so we come to give them something on them. And then lastly, we use the situation to at least advocate for safety on our roads.
For now, Judith will have to spend nearly 5 months in the hospital. One accident, 14 lives snuffed out, the only survivor living through terrible pains. The driver of the articulated truck, who is alleged to have caused the accident, is facing criminal charges in court, while the person who set the fire by the roadside that made smoke engulf the entire area is still on a run. KE municipal authorities say they are on a hunt for that person. Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kwejenyako, Cape Coast.
Still to come here on Joy News Prime, the La Bianca saga. Chamber of Trade and Trade defend the frozen foods company and cautions the general public not to be quick in bringing down Ghanaian businesses.
If you read it very well, there's nothing in it. It's hollow. It's actuated by malice, and those who are behind it, they know themselves. I'm ready for any prosecution. That's what he must do.
We have details of this and more after the break. Don't go away. Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. The Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority has hit back at the Office of the Special Prosecutor, refuting claims of corruption against some of its officials in the case of La Bianca Food Company. Commissioner of Customs, Colonel Retired Kojo Manu, insists the report of the Special Prosecutor was released with malicious intent to discredit the custom officers. The report signed by the Special Prosecutor Kisei Jabin alleged that influence peddling by Ms. Asumahene, who is a Council of State member, led to the reduction in the tax liabilities for her frozen foods company, that's La Bianca. Now, a Deputy Commissioner of Customs in charge of operations, Joseph Eduche, was cited by the OSP for issuing what it describes as unlawful customs advance ruling. But the Commissioner, speaking at a Customs Division Management Retreat in Kumasi, described the reports as hollow and claims there are no issues with the dealings.
Since 3 days ago, what has been happening? A report purporting or coming from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, trying to indict the Deputy Commissioner of Operations and myself. And anybody who has read that report very well will know the basis of that. And luckily for me, God is always on my side. Before that report came, that person had made a statement to some people who had come to them. He was going to publish something that will discredit me, and he will do that. And I even sent people to go and tell him that he's a small boy. I'm older than him. I have lived a meaningful life. If he attempts to destroy me, it won't be easy for him. People have tried it. I have survived, and this one too, I'll survive. All that happened. One of the reasons was because of Mr. Akurugu. He wanted Mr. Akurugu to be seconded to his office, and I said no. Mr. Akurugu is a customs officer, primarily employed to do customs work. And he is to partner Mr. Akutofachin in that office, African Continental Free Trade Area. He deals with tariffs and valuation. And therefore, I cannot second him to the Office of the Special Prosecutor because he has a primary role to play in customs. And then he comes back through the Commissioner General. And again, I said, I insist, and we'll go by that he has a primary role. It is when I don't have a role for him, or I can dispense with his services, I have others to do what he's going to do, that I will give him to you. So I insist. And he calls me to his office when in relation to La Bianca. And at the end of it, he talks to me about this same matter. And I said, yes, It is not the Commissioner General. I wrote it. Go and check it. And I have my reasons. He will not be released to you. He will be in customs. And then behind me, he goes to resign. He's given the position of Commissioner of Police a rank, and he's now with your office. And he goes to make allegations that Mr. Duche and myself, we hit him, and they will deal with us. So that is it. That is the basis of that publication. But if you read it very well, there's nothing in it. It's hollow. It's actuated by malice. And those who are behind it, they know themselves. They know themselves. They've tried it several times. It is not working, and they want it won't work. I'm ready for any prosecution. That's what he must do. Not to say that they should do further investigations up to 2017. Up to 2015, I have letters written by Deputy Commissioner Demis Agavo granting similar things. And I produced them when he called me. He didn't have the letters, but I had the letters. My predecessor, Mr. Crenson, had those letters. This is common practice in customs. If you want to remove me, I have no problems. I won't be Commissioner of Customs forever. I'm ready to go, but don't disgrace me.
Well, Colonel Damwa explains that Section 12 of the Customs Law makes it possible for import taxes for regular importers to be reduced. He says many importers have taken advantage of the law.
By Section 12 of our law, the same Customs Act gives advanced ruling. And the import of advanced ruling is that someone who is bringing in goods can come and see Customs and say that I'm bringing this type of item, this quantity, and these are my values that the supplier wants to give to me to be able to buy. But I want to come and sit with you so that you reduce the value for purposes of application of the duty rate, the taxes that I'm going to pay. So let's say the supplier is prepared to give the item at $1,000, right? Because he's buying more, the supplier may give it even with a discount. Then he comes to say that, look, every month I'm going to buy so much, at least 200 containers of this item. And because Customs is going to get reliable, sustainable source of revenue, can you now look at my value and reduce it, give me some discount? That is what the advanced ruling talks about. La Bianca took advantage of this provision in the law and wrote to Customs that they are supplying frozen food items. But each month, at least, they supply 200 containers. And for that, me as the commissioner, if you have one importer who gives you revenue regularly, sustainably, you'll be interested in that person, because there are people who buy just one container the whole year, he won't buy another container. But this is the person who says every month I'm bringing 200, 300, 400. So that person is your regular, reliable stakeholder who will be giving you revenue. So it is the provision of the law that they took advantage of and wrote to Customs, and Customs agreed to give them discounts. Now, this was not started during President Danado Dankwa Akufo-Addo's time. It started before that.
The Ghana Water Company Limited is on the offensive as it hints at a collaboration between the national security in clamping down on illegal connections and theft of its water. The move follows a revelation that close to 50% of water produced by the company annually is used without payment. Listen to the managing director of the company, Dr. Clifford Brymer, who says this is gravely affecting the operations.
The national security is, you see, we are not bringing national security for our. It's important to say that of the 42.9%, when you break it down further, only 67% is as a result of leakages and bad, that's fiscal losses. 23% of it, 33%, sorry. 33% of the losses of the 42.9 is as a result of commercial losses. Commercial losses means illegal connection, people tampering with our meters. And that is where we want our customers to help us to check. It is important that communities take note of illegal connections. You have a fixed volume of water running from one point to the other within the community. and you have a number of people who are tapping on that line, what it means is that if you allow somebody to tap more than he should tap, he is using another customer's volume of water. And so it is not just Ghana Water Company that is losing, but the community members will be losing, especially those downstream. And so we will all have to help GWCL to take this illegal connection more seriously.
Dr. Brima adds the company is collaborating with national security to deal with the problem.
National security is, you see, we are not bringing national security for our payments. The illegal connection is not even because they are tapping the water. The national security is coming in because if you cut a pipeline, whatever you introduce in the pipeline, nobody knows. And you have not been accredited. That means that you have the discipline and you have the training to connect, and you go touch it, you can be a suspect. And so if national security makes it a security issue, people will stay away. When somebody, the adhesives we use to join the pipes, some are not human friendly. So what kind of adhesive will the illegal connection person have used? Nobody knows. And that is why it has to become a national security issue, because we cannot compromise the quality of the water that we present to people. And so in some jurisdictions, it is a critical issue. Water supply environment and national security environment.
Let's go to the phone lines now and speak to Stanley Mate. He speaks for the Ghana Water Company. Mr. Mate, grateful you could join us. I mean, the fact that you make losses at the Ghana Water Company is no news, but up to 50%, how did we get here?
Okay, so with the presentation, we have said that as of 2017, our non-revenue water stood at 55%. But because of the investment and then the hard work into reducing the non-revenue water, as of 2021, we were at 46%. As I speak to you, we are still going down, and we have a target of 34% by 2025 because of the investments that we are doing. We are making into that sector. So, and if you listen to the presentation, you have said that globally, this is one challenge that all utilities face. We understand. So for us, we have taken it as a serious issue, and we are doing everything possible to enable us to reduce it to its very minimum. Now, globally, the allowable rate is around 20-25%. We are hoping that by 2025, we'll get to the 34%, and then we still will continue further and ensure that we are at that level globally or even better. Now, our vision is also to be a world-class leader. So everything that will keep us in that state, we will ensure that is done so we get to that level.
And so you have set a target for yourself, but you talk about collaborating with the national security to deal with this. How exactly are you targeting the sources and the individuals in order to reduce this?
Okay, so we have talked about our fiscal losses and our commercial losses. Now with the commercial losses, we have talked about illegal connections and other more practices that go into that one. So we will collaborate with national security, especially because people could compromise on the quality of the water. We had also launched our water safety policy. Okay, so it's essential that we take that aspect of our water production seriously, so that at least we'll ensure that the water that gets into people's homes meets the best of standards.
But metering challenges has been long-standing, and I have also heard you talk about the fact that you are introducing smart meters. How far have we gone with that? I mean, we've heard about this for many years now, and it appears we are not seeing it on the ground to address this.
Okay, so it is on the ground now, and in the last 2 years, we have mounted or we have installed over 8,000 smart meters. We are still procuring more and installing them. Now, we are introducing smart meters throughout the country and throughout our system. So our treatment plants and our booster stations and our DMA, district metering area program and everything are going to have digital meters And then our homes are also going to have smart digital meters so that at least we can have accurate measurement of the water that comes into the system and the water that is sold to our customers. Based on that, we'll be able to calculate our non-revenue water effectively. So we are doing a lot of investment. Now, these meters are very expensive, so we keep investing into it. And it's from our internally generated revenue, okay? So we are not seeking any support from anywhere. We are doing it ourselves.
But have you seen any difference?
And then to move through it so that we don't go bankrupt.
With the installations you have made, have you seen any difference? Has it helped the situation?
Exactly so. And this has also helped us in reducing the non-revenue water that we've been talking about. So from 55% to 46% in 2 years, in 3 years is a significant figure. Because reducing non-revenue water by 1% is a serious achievement. Considering the volumes of water that we produce in a day and in a month and in a year, if we reduce non-revenue water by 1%, then we have done very well. But this time it is not just 1%, but it's a serious jump from 55 to 46 in 3 years. Okay, and we are still going further. Okay, the current figure, as I speak with you, is less than 40. But the target for 2025 is 34, and we're expecting that we will do better by 2025. But at least we have to be moderate in our communication, so that at least we wouldn't expect that much, but at least we'll do better.
Mr. Mate, thank you very much. That's Stanley Mate. He speaks for the Ghana Water Company. And as we talk about water, let's do Clean Ghana campaign. Clean your surroundings or we seize your waste. That's a new strategy being employed by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly sanitation officials to ensure the highest level of compliance. The sanitation team was at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle or Interchange livestock market today, where animals are being fed in filth with their droppings filling the drains there. Michael Ashali was with the team and now reports.
A livestock market at Circle. Animals feed in filth and the drains are choked with silt and animal droppings.
The goat on the drain. Who is this goat owner? If the owner is not there, remove it. If there's no owner, remove it and go and put it in the car. Please, where are the others? Sammy. They should remove all the goats on the drain.
Florence Kuchi is the director of the AMA Sanitation Department and she's after the owner of the shop. But no one will own up. She decides to seize the animals.
And the owner was standing here, but he said the owner is not there. So when we started, so that is the tricks we wear with. When you go to a place and you cannot identify the owner, if there is an asset there, try to take over the asset. You see the owner. You see, when we start to just remove one sheep, the owner came out. He was standing here, he said he wasn't the owner. Now he is the owner. So it's very difficult.
Does this really not point to the fact that the Operation Clean Your Frontage campaign has not gone down to the last person who must hear it?
Master, the Operation Clean Your Frontage campaign has gone down, but it's just, what will I say, a human attitude, a Ghanaian attitude towards sanitation. That is the problem. Everybody knows what to do, but they don't want to do it. When they see you, they'll tell you they've been doing it. You see, he said they've been doing it every day. What shows that this thing, they've removed it last week? So everybody knows what to do, but everybody is refusing to do what they are supposed to do.
It turns into an argument which is quickly resolved. Now, they have to clean the entire place.
It's an insult. How can you be working here? This is where you eat. You sit here, you live all your life here. You only go home after 8 o'clock. And latest by 6 o'clock you are here. And you inhale this thing throughout. Why can't you keep the place neat? When you go to elsewhere, it's not like that. Why is our own different?
Now, at least they seem to have gotten the notice from the AMA. They have started some cleaning works here. desilting the drain that lies in front of them. According to the Operation Clean Your Frontage tenant, everybody was responsible for the piece of land, including drains that lie just in front of their edifice, be it your workplace or your home.
Now, barring any hitches, contractors working on the Ashanti Regional Hospital at Sewa in the Bosomtwe district will soon hand over the facility to government for use. Physical works on the 250-bed capacity hospital have been completed, awaiting provision of power supply and improved road network to the facility. The project is expected to ease pressure on the Komfanoche Teaching Hospital, Ghana's second largest referral facility, when it becomes operational. Health desk visited the facility and filed this report.
This is the Ashanti Regional Hospital, located at Sewua in the Bosomtwe district. It is part of 8 hospital projects funded with $339 million under the construction of Eurojet De-Invest contractors. It will be the 3rd biggest health facility in the region, next to the Komfanoche Teaching Hospital and the yet-to-be-completed 500-bed military hospital at Afari. This modern health facility is fully equipped with gynecology wards, an intensive care unit, operation rooms, delivery suites, sterilization department and medical gas plant for the production of medical gases. It boasts of an endoscopy unit, a rare service in many health facilities in the region. It has, among other facilities, a sewage treatment biogas plant, water treatment plant, power station and a maintenance department. Amir Farouk Mahmoud is resident engineer.
We are almost 100% of the progress, only remaining the testing and the commissioning. Our project is a 250 beds regional hospital located in Sewua. The floor build-up area is about 30,000 square meters. We have about 43 buildings. The area for the whole project is around 125,000 square meters.
Like all modern health facilities, the new Ashanti Regional Hospital comes with a 20-unit staff accommodation made up of 3 bedrooms each. But despite the installation of equipment, the facility is yet to be put to use. Resident engineer Amir Farouk Mahmoud explains why the facility is yet to be handed over to the government.
We have a critical problem for the power. We have 2 powerhouses here in the project, but the power source is not connected to the powerhouse. Number 2 is the access road. We have a contractor for Ghana Highway Authority. They started the work, but they stopped for more than 6 months. The road is barely motorable, so for the patients and for the visitors, it will be very hard for them to come.
Health Minister Kojo Manu admits there are some client obligation facilities yet to be provided by the government.
We are waiting for a few things. We call them client obligations. The client should bring road to access the facility. The inside the hospital road is part of the contract. But from Sewua town or from the major road to this place is supposed to be done by government.
This is Johnny's Prime with me, Ernest Kojo Manu. We have showbiz next.